So Jonah, his issue, a lot of people like to say Jonah's issue was that he was running from God. He wasn't running from God. Him running from God was a symptom of his real issue. His real issue was the hate that was in his heart. That was the real issue. Why? So Jonah was told to go to Nineveh. Now, thing is, the Ninevites, they wronged Jonah. They wronged him. The Ninevites early on, they actually, they attacked his village where he was from. They attacked him. But Nineveh was the place that God told Jonah to go preach the gospel. And Jonah was like, what? You want me to go preach the gospel to the people that just did this to my family? No, you crazy. No, send somebody else, because I ain't going. We look just like that. So many times God tells us to do something and we think we have a better idea because we got a hard heart, because we got hate in our heart. Jonah, he was holding on to that bitterness. That was his problem. So, in result of him holding on to bitterness, he ran from God. He was on this boat, and these people was like, they ain't never seen him on this boat before. All of a sudden, it's a storm, and they trying to figure out what's going on and what's different. It's like, normally, this storm ain't like this. And they noticed the only difference about the boat was that Jonah was on it. So it's like, are you running from your God? And Jonah's like, yeah, I'm running from my God. And they're like, you were crazy. Throw him overboard. They threw him overboard. He was swallowed up by a big fish. He was in that fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And after that, he ended up going to Nineveh and he preached the gospel. But let me tell you this. You can still do things that God wants you to do and not deal with the source and still have foundational issues. Jonah preached to the Ninevites. He preached in Nineveh. They got saved. The king, everybody was saved. Jonah was mad. He was mad. He told God, that's why I didn't want to do that, because I knew you would forgive them. I knew you would. God wasn't done with Jonah yet. He wasn't done with him yet because he still had a foundation issue. Because the foundation of Jonah's frustration was the hate in his heart. His own hate could not allow him to see the joy of people repenting for their sins and turning and running to Christ. The same thing that the angels celebrate every time there's a baptism, every time somebody gives their life to the Lord, he could not share in that joy. He couldn't partake in it because his foundation was so broken, because he had so much hate in his heart. God dealt with him. Listen to this. God gave Jonah, so Jonah was walking, right? Keep in mind, Jonah ain't had no camel, he had it like that. So Jonah was walking, he grew really weary, tiresome. And he got this shade tree. God gave him a shade tree. So he's sitting under the shade tree. Next thing you know, God struck it and set it on fire and it disappeared. And Jonah got upset. He was angry with God. And God told him, you only had that shade tree not even a whole couple days. You didn't even have it a couple days. Them people that you preach the gospel to, they're my children. I knew them since the time that I formed them from dirt. I formed them from the dirt and blew breath into that body. You don't think I love them way more than you love that shade tree? God dealt with his character. God dealt with Jonah's foundation. The things that I'm struggling with in my life, they were not the issue. They were symptoms of the source. They were symptoms of a weak foundation. They were symptoms that I wasn't doing Matthew 7:24. I wasn't listening and following what Christ told me to do. Because if I did that, then I'd be wise. And there are times I'm not wise in all my ways. And I will be the first one to admit that. I'm just so grateful that God gave me the capacity to, 1, recognize it, 2, do something about it. It's super easy to do something about it because me doing something about it led me to this study.